Okay, we start. Thank you for attending this workshop on Eclipse 4. I hope that you downloaded all the files. I sent an email to get the files and the version of Eclipse. If you don't, yes, there are USB sticks if you want to download to get the files. So you can ask for the sticks. Okay, so let's start. My name is Olivier Prouveau. I'm an Eclipse trainer and creator for tools. And I created my own company. The name is OP Coach. This is a company focused on Eclipse trainings and consulting. And I will co-present this workshop with Emmanuel.
I'm Emmanuel Benjamin from Eclipse. I'm in partnership with Coach. Eclipse is specialized in consulting and training in Spain and Spanish-spoken countries. Today I will support this session, so feel free to ask me if you are blocked or if you have any questions during the workshop. So have a good workshop and have a good Eclipse Con.
Yes, the goal of the workshop is to try to make the exercise, and I prepare for you a couple of files that you can use. So depending on your knowledge, you can just copy the files or you can try to code. But anyway, and even if you start at another step, you can get the files of the step. So you should be able to follow the workshop correctly. Just a couple of lines about my company. I founded it in 2009. So this is a birthday this month. I'm a member of the Eclipse Foundation. The website is opcoach.com. And so I just provide training and consulting, as I said. About the references, something interesting is that a lot of companies use Eclipse, and they are from different scopes. You have software companies, you have end users companies, you have big companies. So Eclipse is used by a lot of companies, and that's interesting. So let's start this workshop. So first of all, maybe who knows Eclipse 4 here? You raise your hand. Okay, so about half. Okay, so probably you have questions about how to use it or how to migrate. This is not a talk about migration. This is only a talk to create an application from scratch and then to understand the basic concepts of E4. So we will have a look on injection, of course, on the application model, and on the event worker. I think this is the main part of E4. Of course, if you have questions, we can try to answer after. So for this application, maybe for those who knows Eclipse 4, the first step is very easy. It's just creating the default application. But we need to start by this step to have something correct to work with. So when this basic application is created, I will give you files to copy. So that will be easy. So the application we want to create today is a dashboard for an engine. And I will give you code to simulate an engine, and you get a UI dashboard. And for that, we will use Nebula widgets. So it's also interesting to maybe to use. Who knows Nebula here? Yes, a few people. So this is a graphical library based on Draw2D. which provides some interesting widgets like jokes, scale sliders. You can draw graphical charts and so on. So this application will be built with different steps. We'll just add a dashboard and then we'll connect with an internal engine simulator, and then we will add UI to get values by injection. So as we said before, feel free to ask questions. If you have problems when you want the application or when you try to do it, you can ask Emmanuel to just raise your hand and he will try to help you. Just a slide about the architecture of this application. We'll create 3 plugins. We'll not put everything in the same one. This is the name of the plugin you have to create. So there is a EAP. This is the main. I will show it. This chart. So the EAP plugin is the main plugin of your application, and it will depend of the engine UI and of the engine core. And of course, all these plugins will depend on the target platform that we will initialize now. The target platform, you will have the E4 stuff and the Nebula and the tooling of E4, because we will use E4 spies. The E4 spies are part of the E4 tools to understand what's happening inside your application, and I will show you every feature of these spies. So the code of this application is also delivered on GitHub, so you can go to the github.com of the coach conferences. And if you have an internet connection, you can download these files. I will not explain Git now, but if you know how to use it, you can get everything. And I try to put the steps in the history, so if you know how to get only these steps, to check out this branch or this commit, you can get everything at this step. So, for working with Eclipse 4, you need to use the latest version of Eclipse. So if you use Kepler, for instance, it's a too old version because the tooling will not be compliant with Kepler. So you have to use the latest Luna version. So this is the reason why I sent you an email to download the Luna RC Release Candidate 3 so as to be ready for that. So to start the workshop, you have to run Luna, and you start with an empty workspace. So you should be in this configuration. If you can't run Luna, that's a problem. Raise your hand or say to Emmanuel what's the problem. But I hope that nobody has problem on this, because it's not the most important point. Then you have to install the E4 tools in Luna. E4 tools is not provided automatically in Eclipse for the moment, but it will change in a few time. Maybe it will be there will be a version probably for downloading Eclipse with E4 tools automatically. So you have to install. Oh, this URL is not the good one. It must be 16 and not 15. Sorry about this. But this is the zip you downloaded yesterday. So be careful, because the version of the 15 June had a little problem that was not very important. It works, but it was just a null pointer exception in a specific part, so it's better to have the latest version. And when you will install this tooling, you will have to install these components. So I will show you now on my Eclipse. I will do the exercise with you. So you just go to install new software. You will have the dialog to get the update site. So you just click on Add, and you go to Archive. Archive, and you get the file. I gave you on the website. So I must find it again. So it's here. Not this one. Okay. So this is this one. So as you can see, it's the 16th of June. So you just get it, you open it, so you can give a name. And the screen resolution is not very good. Okay. So you have to get the context spy, the core tools. There are 4 items to get: the CSS spy and the event spy. So actually all the spies and the eco tools. So just a remark about this: the eco tools is the kernel of the tools, so you always need it. And context spy, CSS spy, and event spy are just simple spy to run with your application. So you don't need that for development, you just need it for the runtime and to check everything. For development, only core tools is needed. So you can remove the contact update site and you install that. Okay, for this workshop we will use also Nebula. As I said, this is a graphical library. We will install it also in Eclipse, and then we will use the default target platform that will contain everything. So you have got it also on the USB sticks, and the zip file is named repository.zip. It's the name they gave on the website. So don't worry, this is Nebula. I didn't change the name. Let's restart. Okay, so I do the same. Just install new software. I add the archive file, and this is repository, this one. So this is Nebula. And you take everything, just not contact all update site. That should be okay, just install. So now in your Eclipse, when you will have restart, you will get the Luna platform, the E4 tools, and Nebula, and this will be our target platform. We'll use the default target platform. I don't have time to explain how to manage your target platform in a file and to use it for your build. So we don't care about the target platform. We know that this is a default target in the preferences. I think it's okay. Yes. So what we do also, we will import the project of the files of the workshop, so as to help you to do the steps. So to do that, you can import a project. So you go there, import. I think you must unzip, oh no, you can import an existing project. And you select also the archive file, you browse, and you select, I'm not at the right place again. And you can get this file. So this is ECF14. Just open the file, there is a project inside. This is not an Eclipse project, it is just a project with sample files. And you will get the files for each step. So sometimes this is the same files because they are changing. So is that okay for that? No problem about this? It's just basic Eclipse? Okay. So the step one of for building an E4 application is to create a default skeleton, and you can do that with a specific wizard. When you install the tooling, you will add some wizards here, and you have an Eclipse 4 application project. So you will select this, and we will give the name to our project. So I don't know if everybody can see that. So I will call it because ECF14 EAP. This plugin and this application is the main plugin of your application. So this is at the top level, and it will contain the application model that we will see just after. The second screen, this is not the second screen, this is the third screen, but the second screen of the wizard, you must just, you will have nothing to do. And in the third screen, don't forget to click on the create sample contents. This is very important because it will provide you some default commands. And in E4, the default commands are not, you have to write all the comments of your application. It's not like in E3. So with the default content, you will get, for instance, the exit command and some basic stuff that can be interesting in your application. For instance, the default perspective. So don't forget to do that. And after we launch the application, so I will do the step. That's very easy. I just open the new wizard with Control N. Just wait for. So this is my first plugin, so I will call it okay, so there's nothing to change here. So you go on the next, there's nothing. You will see that this box is disabled because this is, the default application is considered as a bundle and not as an Eclipse, as a plugin, even if it's a plugin. If you click on this box, you cannot now, but after for the other plugins you will be able to click on it. You must take care of this box, because if you click on it, you will add a dependency on org Eclipse UI, and org Eclipse UI is a 3.x framework. So you never must depend on org Eclipse UI if you make a pure E4 application. Just a remark about this, we are doing a pure E4 application. There is no more 3.x code, and there is no compatibility layer running behind. So this is ready for new applications. So if you have a UI plugin, we will add by hand the dependencies on the UI you need, for instance on GFace. But for the moment, you must not add this. So that will create the project. Okay, so this is a basic plugin. We will open it after. So to check if everything is okay, we will create a launch configuration for that. Resolution is not so good. So to do that, there is a command in the one menu. You can select one configurations, and you have a new Eclipse application. You must think, when you develop with E4, you must always click on this box, clear, for the development test, so as to start with always a new one-time workspace, to be sure that everything is clean, because when you relaunch your application, some informations are stored in the one-time workspace, and sometimes you cannot see your modifications. So I always select this box. And of course, you will select the product that has been created in your project, and that's it. You will get this application. So We will prepare this launch configuration because we will use it during all the workshop. So this is in the one menu, you have one configurations. Just have an Eclipse application, double click on it. You create your given name, dashboard, for instance, and you select the product. So the product here, the list is the list of all the extensions of the product extension points, and we will see that there is an extension of this extension point in our project. So we can get the name of the product, and I think that's it. We can run it. Let's remove an option, Java 8. It's not a good one. Oh, that's good. Yes, but I forgot to clear. It's probably the reason. I will click on the box to clear automatically. So, as you can see, if you don't click on clear, you can have some very big surprise. That was the previous one-time workspace that has been taken into account, and there was some files of the previous launch. So you must always click on clear. We just remove the ask. Okay, so that's it for that. So for the moment, we don't have to do a lot of things. We just open a wizard and create a launch configuration. So the first main concept in Eclipse 4 is the application model. The application model is something, it's like a skeleton on which you can put your UI components. If you have a look on the UI, for instance, here, you have several components. You have views, you have here toolbars, and you have a menu in a view, for instance, here. The application model is something that will help you to describe only these areas. But you don't describe in the application model the contents of the view. You just say there is a view here on the left part of my slash container, for instance. There is a toolbar, there are main menu, and so on. And you will put on this application model some information, and this information is basically a module class with specific annotations. Just a remark for 3.x developers. When you launch Luna, actually you have a lot of 3.x code, and you have an application model inside your Luna IDE. There is the compatibility layer will transform every extensions that you find in your 3.x code into an application concept. So this is how it works today. So when you use Luna, you use the E4 framework and all the runtime of E4. It's different of the E4 tools. You have already an E4 runtime on your Eclipse. So, a couple of slides about the application model. We will use it during the workshop, and of course we'll change it. In the application model, you will have to declare some visual information like the views, the perspectives, the menu, the comments, and so on, and the items in the menus. And you have non-visual items like the comments, the handlers for the comments, the key bindings, some common definitions for the parts. So there are several different parts in the model. This model has been created using eCore, so there is an Eclipse plugin inside E4 which describes this meta model. And when we need something new in this application model, we just change this model and regenerate the code and change, of course, maybe the editor. But this is based on EMF, on the EMF framework. So there is a dedicated editor, and something interesting with the application model is that you just describe your application in this model, then you launch your application, and when you at the runtime, the application model is read and is live. I mean, this is there is a renderer that with the model you have written, and it will display your application. And this renderer is UI agnostic. You can, no, not the application model, excuse me, is UI agnostic. And the renderer is UI specific. You have a renderer for JavaFX today and a renderer for SWT. The application model is independent of the UI. And all the classes you will have to reference in your application model must be simple modules, so there are no more dependencies or extension of classes of the framework. So this is very interesting because you can use your class everywhere, and it's easier for tests and so on. So basic application model, but we will open it. So in this version of the E4 tools, the application model editor is not so shiny as we want to have, but there is no find in this part. There is another tab, and there is a find issue to find an ID or something in the XMI tab you have in this editor, but it has been provided only last week or 3 days ago. So it continues to be better, but if you have IDs, feel free to open bugs to, it's not a bug, but it will be a features to help us to find what we could change inside. So there is, as I say, non-visual definitions here, for instance, and UI content. When you will use this editor in the next steps of the workshop, you will probably have to click everywhere because you must open all the nodes. And so just to tell you where you will probably go often, it's, sorry because the micro is okay, so there is a Windows part where you have the trim window. This is a main application window where you have a main menu, and you will probably have to open often this item. This is controls. Controls means the widgets or the contents of the view. And you will have perspective stack, perspective. You have to always open controls. So you have to click everywhere. In your new version of E4 tools, you will not have exactly windows. You will have windows and dialogues. Don't worry about this. This is because I try to put the dialogues inside the application model, but we will not use this issue. So it's windows and dialogues today. So for the classes you will put in the application model, you will have to reference modules, as I said, and there is a specific notation with bundle class and with the name of the bundle ID, so the bundle ID here, and the name, the full qualified name of the class. So usually the class is in the same package. The name of the package is the same as the bundle, so you will duplicate the name. But don't worry about this long name, you just have to know how to read it. But there is a find button, and you will find easily the classes. When you click on it, it will generate this annotation. You can also reference resources in other plugins, for instance icons, or maybe data files. You must use, in this case, the platform plugin usual annotation for getting files in other plugins. So, the first spy we will see is I call it the model spy, because it's something to spy the model, but the original name is the live editor. So you can get it using Alt-Shift-F9. This is a shortcut. And when you open it, you will see the one-time model. And if you change something in this model, it will change automatically in your UI. So there is a live listeners based on the EMF listener framework. and it will change everything. We'll make a small exercise with this after. So we are now ready to do the step 2. We'll change the default part of our application, and we will just set this dashboard view. So as I said, this is a display of Nebula widgets, so we will have to add some dependencies on it. So this is only 2 counters with the speed and the RPM of your engine. So we'll put that in the EAP plugin for the moment because it's easier for the moment. We have only one plugin. After, when you finish your application, you could move it in the engine UI plugin. That will be a better place. So we have a file for that in the step 2 folder. So I will not ask you to, make code on the screen. I will just copy it and I will show you the main parts, because if you want to use Nebula, that's very easy, and the code I will show you is just a copy of a Nebula snippet I got on the web. So where should I put this part? I've got in my default application, okay, this one. So you just copy this file, dashboard.java, and you put it in the part package of your application. Of course, you will get some errors, because if you open the file, as you can see, there are a lot of classes that are not found because they are defined in Nebula. So Nebula is in the default target platform. Also, I will just display it here. You can go in the preferences of your Eclipse, and the plugin development item you can select show current target platform, and also include all plugins from targeting Java search. That's a quick tip to help you to find classes even if you have no dependencies on it. So it's just configuration for IDE. So for each class, I hope it will not. This is a demo effect, okay? Okay. So we will add dependencies to. Okay. So this is the default dependencies that has been added in your application when you created it by default. So as you can see, there are some E4 dependencies. There is a gface dependency because we use the basic control of gface as WT2. There is a JavaX inject because we use it also. So here we have to add dependencies. Dependencies is the item, the certain item of your plugin XML file. If you need to open it, just click on manifest or plugin XML. It opens an editor, and you select dependencies. So you click on add, and you had. So we need draw 2D, and we need. It's a visualization widget. It's Nebula visualization widget. And we need also XY graph. Try to do it. Okay, I think this one I needed. So if you save this file, you go in your dashboard and you just organize imports. So the shortcut is, I have only one end, so I cannot do it with the shortcut, but it's Ctrl-Shift-O on Windows, and Command-Shift. Of course, the package is not good because the file, if you change the name of the project, you must change the package name. When you copy the files, you just change the package declaration. Okay, that's it. There is no more errors. So just look on this file, This is the code of a part in your application. So there is a method with, which receives the parent component where the UI must be created. And there is a specific annotation, post-construct. We will see that after. This is an annotation used to, for injection. So we will receive the parent and the context. And the creation of the counter is actually done in a private method. I just isolated it here. So as you can see, this code is Nebula code. You can get it on the Nebula website. There are a lot of snippets, and I just copy these snippets here, and I change maybe the values of the ranges. So that's it. That's very easy. So this is a figure, and the figure in Draw 2D must be set. There is a lightweight system, so I will not enter in details, but there is a canvas actually. The canvas is a basic SWT widget where you can draw something, and you add in a canvas, you can say that there are figures, so there is a wood figure with a layout, and you can add in the wood figure your items or your figures. So I added here four figures, 2 for the counters and 2 for labels. And then you just set the contents. So now we can change our application. So we will go in the application E4XMI. So this file is, this is your application model in your application plugin. Just open it and go in the Windows and Linux part. So you have to open a lot of levels. So you just go to control, you have a perspective stack, a perspective, the controls, there's a part slash container, a part stack, and finally the sample part we had displayed before. So for this one we can change, we can say this is dashboard, and you just change the class here. So you just click on find, you will not have to enter the name, and you just select dashboard. Just enter D, and there's dashboard. As you can see, there are several ways to find the classes. There are several scopes. So you can find a part in your project or in references. So this is a new issue in the E4 tools. So if you don't have the part here, usually you have to click to find it in the references plugin. So we change it. You save, and you run again your application. And that should display our dashboard. So, okay, not so difficult up to this step. So we replace only the basic components. Is that okay for the people who are working on the workshop? Can you find this, can you display this these widgets? Okay. Yes, for Nebula, maybe for some of you who have, when you have a bug like this, the quick fix will display, add this plugin in imported package or add this plugin in require bundles. Usually you have to select require bundles, or most of the time it's better to have require bundles, because in the UI bundles you have all the classes, so you get everything. You are not only interested by this package in particular, you are interested by all the bundle. So you just require the bundle, that's easier after. That's okay. So this is default dependencies. Okay, so in this application we can open the model spy at runtime and check that our model is updated and is running actually. So in our application, we can open the model editor, so it's Alt-Shift F9 for, yes, on Windows also, so it's Alt-Shift F9. Okay, so when you do the shortcut, it will open a main window, which the name is default spies window, where I try to gather all the spies of your application, because there is a CSS spy. The CSS spy is not yet in this window, but it will be in a few time. There is a CSS spy, there is an event spy, there is a context spy, there is a model spy. So when you try to update your application to make it running, there are a lot of spies open, and it was better to have everything in the same window. So you have shortcuts in the toolbar here to open the different. Oh, it's not on the good. That's strange. Okay, you should have a tooltip to open. This is the other spies we will use. So we have a live model editor. We can go in the Windows and dialogues, twin window. This is exactly the same that we have edited before. We have our dashboard part, and if I change my dashboard title, for instance, this is the most visible item, it will change in this part. So there is a listener that is listening to the model, and just the wanderer is notified, and everything is updated. So of course you cannot in the model change the content of the view, or maybe you can change the class, I don't know if it works, but you can change some information on this view. So if you just say it's not visible or visible, that will display it when you just get the focus again. So this is a live editor. So this spy is very important to understand if, when you have something that is not displayed on your application, just open the model spy and check if your stuff is visible or not, or if it's present, or if there is a problem. So this is often used. And there is also a tab inside the spy, this one, okay. There is an XMI tab here, where you can get the model in XMI, but this is the only place where there is now a search in the model. So if you know the name of your part, you can enter the name and you will find it, and that's better to find objects. It's just new feature for today. Okay. So that was the first step. Now we will want to add an engine simulator. This simulator will provide values and change the values of the counters. So to do that, I must first of all introduce some slides on injection, because injection is the second basic mechanism in E4. That was the application model and injection. Injection is a mechanism to get values for parameters of your method or fields in your class, to get the values from an upper framework. You don't have to care about initialization. The framework will give you the values, and you just get it by injection. So there is a specific annotation for that. This is @inject, and this is the main annotation for injection. This is in the package javax inject with a lowercase. There was a mistake here, it's not a uppercase. And you can apply this annotation on a method, on a constructor, or on a field. And your class, when you have injection, will be probably like this. You will have inject on a field, inject on a constructor here, for example, inject a class, and inject on a method. So in this example, the service instance will be initialized as a framework. You don't have to care about the value. Of course, you will probably init this value outside if it's your object, but if it's an object coming from the framework, you don't have to care about the value. It will come from the framework, and that's it. So, injection classes must be created with a specific mechanism. If you call new on a class that contains injection annotation, it will not work because the new mechanism is a Java basic mechanism to create objects. So if you have a class with @inject annotation or other annotation that we'll see after, you have to use the context injection factory class, which provides you several methods, and the most important method is make. Here you have make of a class, you give a class, you give a context, and it will return an instance of your class. So there are other methods on the context injection factory, but we'll just see the make today. This is a static class, so you can call it everywhere in your code. Just call context injection factory.make, name of your class and the context. And the context, of course, you will get it by injection also. So I will show you examples and you will do it after. So the context is actually a map of values with keys and instances. And this context in E4, it's specific to the E4 injection mechanism. This context is hierarchical. It means that you have a specific context for each UI part of your application. So, for instance, you have a main context in your application where you can have all the values, the main instances for your application, and then you have specific context for the parts, for instance. In a part, you will have a specific value, which is the parent composite to create the part. The part is the view. So all the E4 framework will create for you this context and this hierarchy of context, and it will select exactly the good branch that must be activated depending on the part you have, for instance. So you don't have to care about which branch is activated. When there was not the context spy in the tooling, we usually said, you don't have to care about the type you need, you just inject your value and you will get it. But you don't have to care about. But it's not very, we are not always confident when we develop software, and we want to see the values. So we see that the context can be displayed with the context spy, and it will display the different values you have in the different levels. So this class of context is an Eclipse context instance. And this is what we will use when you will have to get a context. So there is a hierarchy, you can manage it. So just a couple of slides about the mechanism of construction of objects. To describe it, I need to introduce these three annotations. This is the post-construct annotation, is an annotation used on a method to say that this method will be called at the end of the construction of objects. And there is also an optional annotation, which means that if I don't have the value in the context, it's not a problem. You can inject null, and I will be able to manage it. You have to know that if the value is not in the context, you will get an exception. So you have to be confident with the system, because if you inject something and there is no value, your application will fail. So you can deal with non-existing values using optional, because sometimes the values are not ready. So you can say it's optional, and I will get it after. And there is an @named annotation to identify a value by its name, because by default it's identified by the class name. So if you have several instances of the same class, you have to put a name. So just 4 slides about the construction mechanism. That's very important, because if you don't understand this algorithm, you will have problems to understand how E4 works. So when you create an object using context injection factory.make, it will call these steps in this order. So first of all, it will select the constructor with an inject annotation, then it will initialize the fields, then it will invoke the method with @inject annotation, and finally it will call the @postconstruct method you have in your class if you have one. So on this simple example, sorry for the resolution, if I have a class call order and I call make context injection factory make on this class, it will invoke this constructor and then initialize this file. It will call this method with injection because there is an @inject annotation here, and it will invoke the postconstruct method. For those who have worked with injection before with IFO, you will remark that an injection method with no parameter is useless. I will explain this after in the next step. So, for the first step, you don't select the constructor that will be invoked by the framework. So, how is it selected? Actually, the framework of IFO will select the constructor with the most parameters that can be injected. So if you have a constructor with 9 parameters, it will call it automatically and select it. If you have one parameter missing, it will try to find another constructor. So this step is just call to a constructor, and if you have super call, it will call it explicitly. For the field injection, this is the second step of initialization. It will put the value inside, and you must know that the values will change if it changes in the context. Actually, when the value is injected in an object as a parameter or as a field, the system remembers where it has been injected. So if it changes in the context, it will reset the value automatically. So that's very cool because we don't have to listen to objects, or we don't have to put some listeners to be recalled. That's a very easy mechanism. So the third step is the method invocation. You can the method with @inject will be called, and if you have a parameter that changed after, it will be recalled. So that's very useful for selection, for instance. So you have the PDF, so I let you see all the details because you have all the stuff to do, so I'll just pass on these slides. And the fourth step is the postconstruct call. It calls the method with the postconstruct annotation. You must notice that this method is never called again. Even if the parameters change, it will not be called again. It's like the constructor. So the basic rule is that something's changed in the context, the system remembers where it has been used, and it will inject it again, or it calls the method again. So that's very important. As you can see on the selection artifact, that's very, very interesting because we can have a selection method where we inject the current selection. In this example, I don't have to declare a listener for getting the selection. I just say I'm interested in the selection, and when the selection changes in your UI, this method will be recalled automatically. You can filter the type here. You can say it's not an object I want to select, I want to react on. I would like to, for instance, react only on a specific object. You can put the class name of your object here, and this method will be called only for this class. So you don't have to care about code here. You don't have to write code, here, where you say if my object is instance of something. You know that you will be called only if the type is okay. And you have also example with preference annotation. For instance, this is a method with inject where the annotation get the value of a preference value, and if the preference change, it will be recalled again. So this is advanced annotation, but it was an example. So to see the context and the context by, there is another shortcut. This is Alt-Shift F10, and you have got it in the toolbar also. So I will explain you directly on the example. So this is my spy window. I just opened the context file here, and as you can see for my small application, I have already several contexts. Actually, I have got 2 windows. Yes, that's true, because I have got my main window with my dashboard, and I've got my E4 spy window. So, if I go on the context, so how does it work? You have the context here on the hierarchy, and you have the values. As you can see, there are 2 parts in this tree. I will close it. You have the local values managed by this context. It means that this context has been initialized with specific values. We have done a set on this context explicitly. And if we open that for a part, for instance, you will see that there is, for instance, a composite here. The composite is a parent composite that has been set by the wanderer. You can see also that the values here, there are a lot of values, but if we check the instances, this is the same name, and actually this is the same instance, because they put in the context, they put the same instance for the different type that are implemented by this class. So this object is a part, but it's also a dirtiable, it's also an M-context object. So this is for optimization reasons. So don't worry if you find the same object with the same instance. So it was the first part of the contents, local values, and you have also the inherited values injected or updated using this context, but set in a parent context. This part is interesting if you want to know where an object has been injected in somewhere. So in this example, we don't have injected values for the moment, so we'll see that after. But we will see in this part, you can open, this one, it will not be, I will try to find, yes, for instance here, you have, for specific values, you can see that the E4 active part object, this is the key of this object in my context, it has been injected in this method and in this method. So those 2 methods will change if the active part will change. And if I search it in the search, I can see that when it's in blue, it's where the value has been found. So you can click on this one, you see that it has been injected using a parent context, and of course, in the parent context, I will find this value somewhere here. So it has been set as a local value in the parent context. So this tool is maybe not very easy to use at the first time, but you will have often to go inside to see where are your values, and it helps you to be confident with the context injection, because we don't know where are the values. With this, you know it. Okay, so you have 2 slides in the PDF to explain this. So now we have another step. We will create an engine. The engine is not a UI class, it's just a class in Java, which will change the speed and the RPM value of our application. And of course, I will put these values in the context so as to listen to these values after in my dashboard and to update the counters. So I will use the context for that. So this class is in the folder, so we'll get it directly. And to change the values, I will use a timer task. So for that, I will create another plugin, because this is a core engine, and this is a simulator. I don't put it in my main plugin of my application. I will put it in another low-level plugin. If I want to test it, I can test it with a fragment after, that's better. So I will create a plugin for that, and this plugin will have to depend on injection and core context, because I will inject the values in the main context of my application. So we'll do that just after. And okay, we can do it now. So this is the file we have in step 5, and we have to create a plugin for that. Let me stop this application. Okay. So just create a new plugin, Control N, plugin project. So I must keep the same name. It's very difficult to enter, to type with only one end. Engine 4. Oh. Okay, this is a bundle, so you can just select OGI framework, go on next. There is no UI, anyway, this is a bundle, so you cannot select a UI here. Next, and you don't need templates because we have nothing inside. So this is a basic plugin. There is, it's so basic that there is no package inside, so I just create a package inside. I just Control N in package, give me the name, so that's okay. I've got a package. If you don't have the package displayed here, it's because you have a filter. In the filter, you must say that you want to see you don't want, so this is negative logic, so it's you to exclude from the view, so you must unset the empty package in the filters parameter here of your package. Okay, so now I can copy the file. So this is step 5, engine simulator. I just copy. Of course, I've got some errors because I didn't set the dependencies. I go in the manifest file, dependencies, and I had the JavaX inject. And the core context. That should be enough. Yes, of course, I must change the name. Okay, that's okay. So this simulator is, let's have a look on some information. First of all, I define some constants here with the key I will use in my context to get the values and to set the values. So I call that speed value and RPM value. I had also the time value, but I didn't use it in the UI. So to get the context, I will inject it. So my class has an @inject notation. I get the context. I don't know where it comes from. I will get it by injection. I have a speed RPM value, so I have a small simulator. When I start, actually, I start a task. A task which is here, and it changes the values. But when the value change, it changes the values every seconds, I think. It will set my value in the context. I had to put a name because this is an integer value, and for integer you have several instances, so you must be discriminant and to have a name for that. Okay, so nothing else to say, and if you stop, yes, you put 0 value in the context. Okay, so now I can update my dashboard to create this engine, and for that, of course, in my dashboard application, in my dashboard UI, I must create an instance of my engine using context injection factory.make. Because if I don't do that, I will not have injection. And what is the context I want to give to my class? I want to get the application context. The application context is the top level context of my application because I want to share the values with all the parts. So I just create my object, but when you call make, it will not put it in the context, so I just put it also in the context. If I need the simulator after, I will get an instance in my context. And in this case, I don't use a name, I use the class name because I have only one instance of my simulator. So, and I just enter sim start. So I will not enter the code in front of you, I will just copy the file. So my dashboard here will replace the file in source. If you compare the two files, there are only the lines in the constructor. So this is here, and I can replace it. So of course there is an error, excuse me, because the simulator class is not known. Okay, it's because I don't have the dependency. So I add the dependency to engine core. Okay, this one. And I must change the package name again. Okay. And I must maybe, yes, I must organize imports. The mistakes, what is it? Yes. Actually, this class in my engine core is not exported in the package. So you must export the package in the sub plugin. And then that should be okay. I can import it. What is this? Yes, I have to cast. Okay. So this is exactly the same code. I only created my simulator. I can run my application again. Oh no, this is not exactly the same code. It's two. You can see that the values change. But I had to change something in the code to update the values. And for that, my dashboard UI here will receive by injection the values. And for that, there is now another method for that. It's, I have two methods actually, listen to speed value and listen to RPM value. I will take the speed for instance. I will, in this method, I'm sorry the screen is very small. I have an injecting method that will be called when I create my dashboard. The dashboard is created by the application model, so injection is provided automatically. So I've got my in value is my speed value, and I use the name I define in my simulator. And I inject also a specific object. The name is UI synchronize. This is for those who have already developed with SWT. You know that in a thread or you cannot change the UI in a thread. You must create a runnable object that you put in an asynchronous instance. In E4, this object is called UI synchronize. It's UI agnostic actually. And in this synchronized object, I create a runnable to update the counter. So it has to be sure that the counter will be updated when the UI is ready to be updated and not if it's in another thread, for instance. So if my speed counter has been received, this method is optional. Maybe the simulator is not created and not available in the context. So to be sure that the value is available, I put an optional on my method, and if something is not available, it will be called, but it will inject something null, so I can, no, excuse me, that's not what I wanted to say. Just a remark about the speed counter, I believe it was the value, but it's not the value. This is the figure that is displayed on the screen. And this figure is not created when this method will be called, because remember the order of the initialization. You have a call of all the inject method and then the post construct. And the post construct is here. And the post construct will create my figure here. My speed counter is created here. So the first time I enter in this method with the injection, when my dashboard will be created, the speed counter is not initialized. So you must check and you must take care of this value. If it's a problem, you can say also that you create all your UI in the constructor of your class. Okay? No problem for that. Depends. But when you read E4 books or E4 documentation, they advise you to create in a post-construct method. But if you put it in the constructor, that's okay too. Yes, I had a slide about this, so I inject the value. Okay. So that's the reason why when I launch my application, the values change, because now there is a timer task that changes the value in the context, and my dashboard receives it. So I can check in the context file the speed value. If I search for it, I will find it that the speed value has been set in the workbench context. It will be in the local values part, because, so there is a speed value here, and in my parting context, it will be in the other part, because it has been injected from the parent. So there is a speed value, and it has been injected in the method dashboard listen to speed value. So you can find all the stuff you put in the context easily with this. Just a remark about it, there is a bug open for that, but my value here is not refreshed. If I refresh the value, I must switch to a context to get the value refreshed. But I opened the bug, so you can see that it has been refreshed, but the speed now is more than 80. It's 100 now. It's not refreshed by this button. This button only refreshes the context, the current context that has been displayed here. If you create a new part, you open a new part, you get a new context, so you can refresh here. Okay, so we use the context, that's okay. We stop the application. So we have, is that okay for everybody? For those who make the exercise? So when you launch, you have the values. Okay. So now I would like to add another part in my application. I have an engine simulator, but I would like to change, to have a UI to control it. So I will do this very easily. There is, I will create a class, and I don't know if you remember, it's a slider that was under the dashboard. So for that, it's quite similar to the first step of the dashboard creation. We'll create a class, a part, and we'll put it in the application model. But I will show you how you have to configure your application model to have the both parts good displayed. So in this, we'll create a specific UI plugin, and we'll copy a class, and I will show you the code, how it's used, because we will have to command the engine simulator, which is defined in the core plugin. So we can do that in our application. We create a new plugin. Okay, so I've got two plugins for the moment. I create a new plugin. The name is engine UI. You can say this is an Eclipse version, for instance, and you will see that this box is actually set because by default, because I set it before. But this box is enabled. You must always unset this box if you do E4 UI, a pure E4 application. Of course, this one is not interesting for us too. Next, I have no templates to use. So this UI plugin has to depend on the core plugin, of course, and we want to make some Nebula graphical widgets and so on. So I will add the dependencies to Draw 2D, Nebula, Engine Core, and Jarax Inject and Core Context also, because I need all this stuff to do my UI. So it's Nebula visualization widgets. okay. We'll see that after. So the engine control panel is the class engine control part you have here. So just get it. I don't remember why there is another simulator. Okay, I will check it after. So I put it in a new package. I don't have a package, so I create one. You should also, yes, that will have been. Okay. You should create package with the correct name. I mean, if it's a part, it's better to have a package for parts. Because with E4, you don't have inheritance between classes. So you can't see if a class extends view part like it's 3.x. So that's better to have packages that name the objects that are inside. So I can pass my class. So that's probably it's not a good one. Ah, yes. Okay. So this is the engine control part. Okay. Let's change the name. Okay. That's strange, I added it before, but okay. And the add optional is in the core DI. Yes, you have to depend on the core DI bundle. I think it's okay. So, yes, I need the nebula. Oh, just a remark, if you have configure build path, never click on this because you will change the path of the Java project and you are in your SGI, so you must change everything in the manifest file. That's very important. So, the dependency needed is this one, XY graph, and that should be okay. So my panel is ready. So as before, I will add this panel in my application, but I don't know if you remember the layout of the main application of the beginning. There was the dashboard and the slider just below. So I will have to change the application model for that. Of course, I must add my dependency on UI to see the plugin, to see the part. So my EAP project depends on UI, and then I can go in the application model and change. So I open it. So I've got a part stack and a part. That was my dashboard. I need to have two parts in my on my screen. So I will create. So I already have a part/container. So I can add the part here. On the part/container, I can add the part. I can say this is my engine control. And I can add the class. Of course, my class is not in my plugin. So I must click on the project and references to find it. And there is the engine control part. So that's okay. But if I launch the application, I will not lose my time for that, but I will see that it's not well displayed. I must set, actually on my part/container I have two objects inside, the part stack and the part. The part stack is just an object that contains the part and it displays stack, you know. So, well actually I will add also part stack on my, I will put the part in the part stack to see the name of my object. So I've got two part stack, and if I want to control the size, I can put a percentage here. So I can say that it's 80, for instance, and this one is 20. If you open after the live model editor, you will see that the values are very long. They're maybe 80,000 or something like this. But you can start with, you can say that this is the percentage of your main window. So I think that will be okay. I can launch my application. I don't have to change the launch configuration because, no, that's not okay, because to maybe the resolution. Ah yes, I must change the size of the. I must change the size. So just a moment. I go in my application window, and I will add. I will change the size of the window. I think it's 600. That's better. Okay. So I've got another part here. There is nothing displayed. It's probably because there is an exception or something like this. Or we will open the code of the engine control part. Oh no, it's not in this one. Yes, I probably forgot to export the package. That's strange because I had it before. Ah yes, the E4 tools doesn't care about the export package. I think it's the reason. No, that's not this one. Okay, so check. So what is in this class? Actually, I've got my simulator is injected. It has been created in the dashboard. It's put in the context, and then if I need it, I just inject it. It's okay. So in my I create a scale, and just have two buttons that will control the simulator and call start when I click on the button. And so there is no problem here. I can try to see what's happening. Or maybe I will ask my new to help me. No, sorry, I don't choose debug. Probably it's because in my application model the name of the class is not good. I will check it. Because in the application model the part stack is okay, the engine control is okay, but I think the class is not good. What's the name? What is it coming from? Engine control. This is this one, yes. Okay. Okay, I don't know why, but I will not lose time to search for it. You should imagine a slide just behind, just below. I will search it after. So, engine control here, okay. Oh yes, yes. No. I think it's because there is no, yes, I must change the start of, so it was a step 6. Okay, so I've got the engine control part. The engine simulator, I have something different, so I will copy it again. I don't remember what's the difference between. Okay, so I will change dashboard. Yes, difference with the dashboard. I don't have to start the simulator now. I had a start, but I don't need it because I have a button for that. So I will put this in my main application. Of course, I must change the package name. Maybe it was this change. No. And Okay, I'll try this one. Well, okay, I don't know. I don't know what's the problem exactly. Okay, I researched after. So, I should get it from the GitHub, but I have no time for that. So, I want the application and I get this. So the engine control is now a UI that will receive the simulator that has been created by the dashboard, and it will command using this button, if you have it. Do you have it? So some of you have this, it doesn't work? Okay, sorry about this. So, I should get it on GitHub. Okay, so now, the third part, so I've got 10 minutes, but that's okay. The third part of the E4 concept, I said there is the application model, there is injection, and you have also a very interesting component. This is the event bus. The event bus is used to send events and to avoid to have to declare a lot of listeners and a lot of events related to the listeners. And usually you have to create a lot of things to listen to something. In E4 there is a class, the name is event broker. And the event broker is just, you can get it offload by injection. And you post or send an event very easily using a string and an object. I will just show you the code because this is trivial. I get the broker by injection, and I create something in my application, and I want to notify an event and to notify objects that I created this object. So I just send an event with a specific key here. I put what I want, actually. I can say I was in a one-time application, so I can say one-time new, and I put my object. So, very easy to send an event. You can send or post an event if you are synchronous or asynchronous. And then you can receive the event using injection again. You have an inject method, optional eventually, and you can get the topic here using UI event topic annotation, and you get the object that has been sent in the event. So that is a very easy way to send events and to receive events in your application. Something interesting about this is that all the events you have in your model application has been translated to this, no, not all the events, all the modifications of your application model has been translated in a class. The name is UI events. And this class describes everything that can happen on the model. So when we will open the event spine, you will see that there is a set on, I don't know, if you move the window, there is a set on the X attribute of your window. You will see all the events. It has been completely generated from the model. And to see that, we have the event spy, and the event spy here displays information about the name of the topic you are listening to. For instance, you see that there is on application element there is an ad. On the tab folder, there was an ad because maybe I opened a window. And you can get like this a lot of information. So we will generate some alarms for our application. So to do that, that's very easy because I can have a class, this is a Joe, and I can inject the values like the UI values before in the dashboard. I can inject the values in the non-UI class, for instance, and with the event broker I can add a test to say to check if the value changed. So to do that, I created a small alarm class which says when, what, and what was the value. So if you do that, you must create then your watcher in your application. Of course, you must make create the instance using context injection factor we made because there is injection, and you can put it into context. If you will launch your application, and I will probably have no time to do the exercise by myself, but I will show you the slides. If you launch the application, you will get, after I think 10 seconds, some alarms here, and you can see the alarm. The name of the topic is alarm / star, and you get the event that appears in the event spy. Then you can display this information in the table viewer. So for that, it's exactly the same exercise as in the step 6, I think, when we added the slider. So I will not do it also by hand, but you just listen to the alarm. So you must receive the alarm using UI event topic. You get an alarm, and you can insert it in a list. So I just put it at the beginning of the list to see the scrolling of the table. And if the viewer has been constructed before, because I have an inject method, so the viewer is not really constructed because it has been created in the post construct, I can refresh and I can set the selection of my object. And of course, that's the same. You must add the part stack here. But you must change a little bit your application model. You must add another part stack container so as to split your screen in 3 parts, and you add the part like before. So you can do it after if you want. You have all the code on the GitHub repository. And when you do that, you will get the dashboard, the values, and the alarm here that will be refreshed for each alarm. Okay, so I have no time. I'm sorry to do it now, but I can show it to you with my default application setup, but I don't have time to debug the first problem. I have another step to show you. It's the last one. It's the styling of your application, and this is the last spy you can use. This is a CSS spy. This is a very interesting feature of E4 because you can change very easily all the style of your application without having to change the code. That's very cool. So you can reference with a CSS class. You can put the name of a widget, of a SWT widget. You can put the name of a specific object. You can put a name of a class in your application model, I mean an end part or something like this, or you can define your own specific CSS style. I will give you an example in this slide. So of course you will ask me, how can I find the names? I will show you just after. That's very easy to change. In this example of CSS, I said that all the buttons must be purple with a big font and with a style bold. So it means that all the buttons in all my application, even in the exit dialog, will be displayed with these features, these properties. Here I have got the name of the part stack of the bottom part of my model. I didn't enter this name by hand. It's a CSS spy who gave me this value, and I can change, for instance, the font. And on my window, I said, okay, I must have some margins, and I've got a background color with a gradient. So it will be from, I don't remember, it's blue or something like this to black. So yeah, just a remark about this value. You have the first color, the start color, the end color, and you have a percentage to say, is it on all the widgets that the gradient must be applied, or should we wait, for instance, 50% of the widgets? So you can say, if you say 50%, the first 50% will be blue, for instance, and then the last will be a gradient. So for that, we have a very cool tool. This is a CSS spy. So, oh, sorry. So CSS spy, you can open it using Alt-Shift F5. So this spy is not yet included in the E4 spy window. So it will be open. It's open in another window, but anyway, it works. Well, you can search for an object, and when you click, for instance, you search for a button, and when you click on the button, the button will be selected, and you will find the button in the widget hierarchy. So that's easy after to scroll here, and the button is displayed is just enhanced in your UI, so you can see the button. And you can change the values here, directly, dynamically, it works. But usually you don't need it to change the value by hand, you want to get the CSS fragment, which is defined here. You just click on the show CSS fragment, you will get a window, you can copy the code and you can put it in your CSS file. The CSS file in your application is stored in the CSS folder of the EAP project, the EAP plugin. You just copy this part of code, and when you launch your application, you can get something like this with only the couple of lines of CSS are written. There is a blue to black gradient with a 100% for the trim window. The trim window is the main window of your application. So I can see that the value changed. There is some margins here. My buttons are in purple, and as you can see, the stack, the part stack here is written with a small font, and this one is with a bigger font. That's not, it's just to show you that you can change everything, and I didn't search a long time to get the values. I just opened the CSS spy, click on the object, it's surrounded with a rectangle, and you just know how you can change the values. So that's very easy to do. So if you want to make the exercise, you just have to copy the default CSS file in your default, in your CSS folder, your application, and it will work. Okay, so that's it. I'm sorry for the exercise. I didn't have time to do everything, but everything is on the GitHub. You have the PDF file. If you want to replay this at home, it's very easy. You can send an email if you want to. If you have any questions, no problem about it. So the conclusion of this is that E4, maybe some people are afraid to use it because they say, okay, it's not ready and so on, but you must clearly separate two concepts. The E4 framework is ready to go, no problem about this. It works since the Juno version, and every day you use the E4 framework. Maybe you don't know it, but you use it every day when you use Eclipse. So there is no more problems about it, and injection is used every day by thousands of people in the world, so no problem about this. Maybe you are afraid about the tooling, because the tooling is not finished like the PDE for 3.x, but it's not so much a problem, because there are some people working on it, and the main issues are solved for the moment. It's a problem of, I would say, of comfort, because there are some issues that are missing, like searching objects or something like this. But with the spies, as you can see, you can be very confident with your framework. You can see everything, you can understand what's happening in the context, for instance, or in the CSS. So if you have to start a new application, you must start with E4. Don't start with 3.x today for a new application. If you have an old version application with 3.x, because for historical reasons, you should ask the question if it wouldn't be interesting to migrate. And probably it will be interesting, because you will remove a lot of legacy code, there are a lot of things that will change, and there is no more evolution on 3.x. So the framework of 4.x will continue to be changed, and 3.x is finished. So, and the last point, maybe, if you have any remark about the E4 tools and you want to make new features inside, just open a bug on Bug.cr. You just go on platform, and then you should choose E4 tools. And we try to fix it as soon as possible, because we are very interested in having your feedback with this tooling, because it's very easy to open bug. I have another talk tonight, and I talk about how to contribute to Eclipse. I will explain very quickly, because I have only 5 minutes, how it's easy to contribute. You can just open a bug, but you can also provide some codes. And if you want to be a committer on Eclipse, the E4 Tools project is a good door to enter in the system, because it's not very complicated. It's only UI with GFace. It's not very easy to be committed on this. Okay, so sorry, I have not a lot of time for the questions, but if you have any questions, or maybe I can take 2 or 3 questions, but you can go to the booth. We have a booth just in front of the buffet, and you can come ask questions. Yes, Olivier.
Have you the same recommendation for development of plugins? Have you the same recommendation?
You mean recommendation to develop E4 plugins? Yes. For the architecture point of view, it's the same. You must depend on the plugins. You must be modular. You must hide your packages. You must make tests, of course. So there is no specific recommendation about architecture. They are the same. For UI, you can use window builder. If you have UI, you can use it. It's compliant with E4. So, but what about recommendation for a pure E4 application? If you want to start with it, yes. Yes, I see what you mean. Some features are missing in pure E4 application. You don't have the console view, for instance. You don't have the property view. For a few months, you have today the progress view, but it was not present in the framework 6 months ago or 10 months ago. So there are some features of 3.x that are missing today. So for instance, if you are developing some stuff over the IDE, for instance, to extend the Java, the GDT, or the CDT, you will probably need to depend always on the CDT stuff, which depends on the UI. But you can start to work with E4, because there are in Luna, I didn't show it, but for instance, of the views extension point, you can connect the part. So you can start to write code with injection and with parts. I can show it to you after the booth. But not everything is included in E4 as in 3.x for IDE stuff. But if you have a basic application with simulation, with displaying data, that's very cool. There is a project, the name is Open Chrome. Open Chrome is something to display chemical values and chemical graphs, and it's all developed. Everything is developed with E4. The guy is here. I don't know if it's in the room, but Philip, it's Philip Wenning. He has written everything with E4. It's an open source project. You can go on Open Chrome, for instance. So there are some limitations, of course. But if you have any, if you are afraid about this, just send me an email and I will tell you what is missing and what's not missing. Okay. Maybe another question, or after at the lunch or at the booth. Thank you very much.